Sarah floated in a lake of blood. She swam upward but couldn't find the surface. She twisted and swam downward but, still, she couldn't find the fucking surface. Holding her breath, clenching her eyes, she spun to the side and swam. She swam. Her diaphragm seized. Her lungs nearly burst. Her parasympathetic division jolted and howled, fought to wrest control. And so she swam and tried to find the surface, tried to break free. But she couldn't find the surface. She couldn't break free. Everything told her, ordered her, to breathe, to open her eyes and breathe. But she ignored the orders, she ignored the sensations and suppressed the impulses, and she swam. She swam. Somewhere in the lake, somewhere in the darkness, somewhere in the world of muffled sounds, something dove at Sarah and latched onto her arm. Fingers curled around her wrist. Then the thing latching onto her propelled her through the lake of blood. She emerged on top of a hospital overlooking a barren landscape. Like something out of a Bosch painting, blood-red sand filled the valley below. Naked people and meat monsters twisted and writhed, locked into orgies, forced into dominant and submissive roles. Somewhere, out in the distance, a building shaped like a head with an asshole protruding from the base of his skull loomed. The asshole fatted and skinless people tumbled out of it and twisted and writhed on the bleeding sand. Sarah was sitting on the edge of the roof, her feet dangling over the side of the building. Her hair and skin and clothes were dry. There wasn't a trace of blood outside her body. Her breathing slowed. Her head hurt. "You sounded awful." The voice grew behind her. I thought maybe it was the phone. "But, are you all right?" She slid away from the edge. Hands clenched behind his back, the man ambled toward her. His triangles shifted and his face contorted and shimmered. The man's face resembled putty. Sarah tried to perceive his face as it might have been, but the triangles wouldn't stop shifting, so she only ever saw a blob of flesh twisting and flipping, twisting and flipping. She sensed his eyes and mouth, but she couldn't quite make them out. "Things are getting worse," she said. "I can't. There's got to be a way to control it." "You can't control it," the man said. "You know that. I can't deal with this, all this. It's too much. Even for you. Especially for me." The man walked to the edge of the roof, hands still clenched behind his back. He glanced over his shoulder at Sarah and said, "Tell me what you see." "We're on the roof of a building, overlooking some sick, sadistic hell." The man raised his right foot, as if to step off the building. "And what do you suppose would happen if I took another step? We're at least 100 feet off the..." He stepped forward, seemed to hover in the air. Hands still clenched behind his back, he twisted toward her and said, "You may see the roof of a building, but I see a clearing." He pointed. "And over there is a forest. There's a deer." He pointed to his left. "And over there, near that tree, is my father, in his 30s maybe, holding a rifle, setting the deer in its sights." Sarah followed his finger. She didn't see a deer or a hunter, she didn't see a clearing or a forest, she saw a hellish landscape. She saw people and monsters writhing and fucking. And in front of her, she saw a man with a shimmering face hovering in the air near the roof of a hospital. "You still don't see it," the man said. "I told you what I see. And I told you what I see. And there the twain shall meet. And there the twain shall meet. I knew you were going to say that. And I knew you were going to say that. We both know what the other will say. So where do we go from here?" "But the conversation is never the same," she said. "The way some are. Sometimes I can change what I said. But it doesn't change people's responses, does it?" He said. "Yet you do it anyway. Hoping to." "What? That you'll encode the revised conversations? So you'll turn every memory into something meaningful, or profound?" I I sometimes have to say things differently. But does it change anything? He said. Anything external to you? Does it change the behavior of other people? Does it change their memories of conversations? Does it change what they think of you? No, she said. I don't know. Still hovering in mid-air, the man extended his arm, reached out to her. The triangles on his face shifted, shifted, shifted. The illusion nauseated Sarah. Come, he said. And he curled his fingers inward, and furled them, and curled them again. I can't. Why not? Because what I see is real. Is it? To me, it is, she said. But you? Why can't I see your face? We've had this conversation before, he said. And I've answered that question before. So answer it again. I will when I see you again. When will it be? When you need me again? Or when I need you again? He spun and strolled away from Sarah, the roof, the building. Wait, Sarah said. How do I know you're not a figment of my imagination? The man stopped, but he didn't turn to her. We've had this conversation too. But how do I know? She said. I think you might be a figment of my imagination. Before he swung his hands out, before he flew away, the man pointed to his head and said, and I've asked you before, what if you are a figment of my imagination?